Hey guys, welcome to day 19. We are finally going to be talking about something super important, interfaces. And so finally we're doing this, and I've been talking about them quite a bit, and now we are actually going to learn how to use them. And so what is an interface? An interface is a collection of abstract methods. So when you create one, it's almost like creating a certain type of template for a given functionality that you want like a certain set of classes to have. And so it contains no implementations and no constructors. It is just the bare bones, like I want this set of classes to be able to compare things. And so that's the comparable interface, which we'll talk about later. But basically, it's just a template of a certain type of functionality that you want your classes to have. And that functionality is given within the abstract methods because an interface is a collection of abstract methods. And so broad concepts. Now you might be wondering also how an interface is different from an abstract class because an interface is just a collection of methods. Well, we'll get to that, I promise, but I've been talking for a while, and so I want to just get right into the code. And this is going to be quite a fun one, and so we are just going to go and type in NetBeans here, and it's going to load. And our example that we are going to be creating is based on Star Wars. And so Star Wars Battlefront 3, it just came out kind of like in the fall, It's fantastic, has the best graphics. Yeah, I wish I had an Xbox One so I could play it. So now that we're here, what are we even creating? I'm talking about Star Wars, but what are we even doing? Well, we are going to create an interface called character, and then we're going to have two classes that implement this interface, enemy and hero. And then we're going to make like Obi-Wan Kenobi the hero instance, and then Darth Vader the enemy instance. But we'll get to that later. So the first thing I said was create a class, but before, of course, we do any of this, we have to go File, New Project, and create a project. Getting ahead of myself, and we do this, every time, and we are just going to call this Star Wars Interface Practice, and I'm just putting it on my desktop here. We will go finish, and it will load up. And so the first thing that we're going to do once this is all good to go is create our character interface. And inside of here, we will have an attack method and a heal method. And so our characters, they can either attack or they can heal, and they're going to have a variable as well, but we'll get to that. So we just have this thing with this class here. And we are just, we're going to take away all this stuff. I will, in the next video, show you how to do this template thing because I really need to learn how to do it, and so that I don't have to delete everything, and I can format it well. And so first thing, we go Control-click, New, bam, Java interface. You want to click this, you do not want to click class. If we're creating an interface, it is different from a class because an interface is a collection of abstract methods, and it is not a class because there are no constructors and there are no implementations. And so we are just going to click this guy here. This new interface, we're calling it character. Hit enter, and here we go. It's a public interface. Anyone can access this interface. Here we go. So what do we want characters to do? Well, we said we want them to attack, so we'll do public void attack, and attack, not attach. That's the opposite of attack. And so we will do a semicolon there, and that's the signature of the attack function. And so there are no implementations, and then we also wanted to create a public void heal, so you can heal things, you can attack things, that's what characters do, but we don't know what they do because a class must implement the character interface and define like, okay, what does this do? And so we were also going to have a static final property here, and this is something that will not be changed in any of our classes because you can't change properties that you make inside an interface. They're final, they're static, meaning no instance that you create, no implementation is gonna change this. And so you can't create instances of characters, but like say we have our hero, we create an instance of hero, that instance wouldn't be able to change the thing we're about to create. And so basically this property can never be changed. And so what is this property going to be? Well, we're going to say public string base equals character, and this just says like the base of this class is a character. So it implements this character interface. And the reason I'm showing you this, you probably don't even need this, but I just wanted to demonstrate the fact you can do properties in here because I didn't know that until, reviewing for this video. You can actually have a property in here and it has to be public. It is final, meaning this cannot be changed, this value, and it is static, meaning you don't have to create an instance of a class that implements character to use it. You can just do character.base, and that will come up for us. And so now that we have this character interface here, we are going to create a class that implements it. And so we will do control-click on our project and go to class. And the first thing we're going to create the enemy because, you know, that's what we're doing first. And so we have this enemy, and obviously the first thing we're going to do is implements character. And this is going to say that, and now we'll have an error. It says you have to implement all of the methods that were defined in here. So if we say it implements character, if enemy implements character, then enemy must have some kind of declaration for heal and attack. And so we are going to do this. We are going to do public void attack, open close parentheses, open close curly brackets, and this signature has to match the signature in here. If we add a parameter here like int h, like it's going to be mad because we haven't implemented the right method. And so, yeah, and you don't just get to pick and choose which methods you implement, you have to implement all of them. So once I do public void heal, open close parentheses, open close curly brackets, now that error goes away because I've implemented all of the methods inside of the character interface. Now, like I was saying before, if I do int h, like how much do you want to heal by? Well, it's going to be mad because I'm not implementing just the heal with no parameters method. And so it has to be absolutely exact. And that also means it can't return a string. Here we have, you know, it's returning void, but inside of our, what the hell? Okay. So inside of our enemy here, it's not going to recognize it because we're returning something else. And so you gotta have that same signature for it to actually work. And let's implement these. Let's not just say they're things. And so we'll do system.out.println. And inside of these parentheses, we are gonna type the enemy attacks you, because the enemy is not your friend, and so it attacks you. And then inside of our heal, we'll do system.out.println. The enemy heals himself, because he's selfish, you know, he's just healing himself. And you could put anything inside the body of this, but you just can't have it return anything. And so this is kind of, I don't know, trivial that we're printing out things, but later when you create awesome programs that I know you're going to create, you're going to be doing important stuff in here. Back to the code. Okay, so just because this enemy implements character, that does not limit it in any way. You can still have like another public void, I don't know, weapon draw, like you draw your weapon and you just system.out.println, draw out weapon, because that's how you do guns. So if we go over here, we see override. That just means like you're overriding the signature in here and that those two are connected. You don't have to have it, not a huge deal if you don't, I don't know. I think it's cleaner without, but it makes it very clear like this method hooks up with this character thing here, this signature. And then we can also have properties inside here, and we're just going to go public string weapon, and the enemy is going to have a lightsaber because that is what all enemies have. And then we also have to create a constructor, public enemy, open close parentheses, open close curly brackets. And so now we are going to create our hero. And so we have this new Java class. We're going to call it hero here. We're opening it. It's loading. Here it is, cleaning it up. And so now we are also going to say this implements character because it's going to have the attack and the heal method. So we'll do public, and let's space this out. Here we go, spacing it out. Okay, so here we're going to have the public void attack, you know, doing its thing. So system.out.println, the hero attacks the enemy because he is on your side. And then public void heal, and our system.out.println will print the hero heals you because she is your hero, or he, or whoever. Okay, so we have these two methods, and again, we can actually create a string weapon equals lightsaber because that's, you gotta have them equal playing fields for the hero and for the enemy. And so we're going to make this public because you got to say what is the scope, or else it's just going to be protected. Yeah, that's the default. And now we have our stuff. Now notice, because these two, I want to be able to, like, I don't know, if later on I wanted to change the weapon, I could create a method that does that. Or if I wanted to get the weapon, like the weapon can change per instance of the hero or the enemy because it's not inside this interface. But notice they both still have the weapon as a property. Keep that in mind. And so now we are going to go back to our Star Wars interface practice. And so we are going to create a public method. And this is just going to be static because we don't want to have to create an instance of Star Wars interface practice to like use this method. We just want to be able to put something in and it know what we're talking about. And so we are going to summon a character inside of this method. And so it's going to be an enemy. It's going to be a hero. We don't even know what this thing is going to be. And because we're returning a character, we should have it return a character. So inside of our summon character, we are going to write a method. Duh. It's not going to take anything because there's nothing inside of these parameters. And so inside of this method, we are going to actually do a rand equals new random because we are going to decide based on a random number. We got to import this. We're going to use a random number to decide, okay, are we going to make a hero or an enemy? And so how do we use random? Well, if you remember from the previous videos, we are going to do if, and inside of our if, we are going to do math.abs, and inside of here, we do rand.nextInt, open close parentheses, and then we do mod2, which means that this whole expression right here is going to return a 0 or a 1. So we'll say if it returns a 0, then we are going to create a new enemy, and so we will do return new enemy. And if it returns a 1, if math.abs rand.nextInt, if that modded by 2 returns a 1, that means we are going to create a new hero. And so there. Now we have just created our first method that can return either one of two classes. It can either return an enemy instance or a hero instance, but because they're connected kind of by this character interface, it can return, like it has an option basically. It allows you to return enemy or hero. And you can also do this with abstract classes. I just didn't show you because I wanted the wow factor to be with Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, and yeah, so isn't this cool? Like you can return an enemy or a hero. Depends on what our random, like we don't even know what type of instance we're gonna return. Like we don't know what class it's gonna be a part of. It's all up to Java's randomness. That's not really random. I don't know, I find this interesting. Okay, so now we're gonna do the fun stuff. We're gonna run things. And so here we are gonna create 3 instances. We're gonna do a Darth Vader. I know, enemy. Okay, so we are going to type in enemy Darth Vader. He's going to be bad guy, and we're going to do new enemy. And then we're also going to do hero Dawn. This hero is not going to be Darth Vader. Darth Vader is not our hero. You know who's our hero? Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay, here we go. OBI-1, and then Kenobi. And I think that's actually with an E. Don't hate me, internet. Okay, so we're creating this new hero, and it's going to be new hero. There we go. So we have our hero, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then we have our enemy, Darth Vader. And we can't have dashes in here, so we have to take out those dashes. Sorry, Obi-Wan. Okay, so now we have our enemy and we have our hero. So let's mess around with these guys. We'll have Darth Vader, like, attack, and then we'll have our Obi-Wan Kenobi dude. Obi-Wan Kenobi. We'll have him attack, and then we'll have, I don't know, Darth Vader heal himself, and then when Darth Vader attacked, he hit us, and so then we'll have Obi-Wan Kenobi heal us. And let's print out their weapons as well. So we can do system.out.println, and we can do Darth Vader dot, and we got to spell Darth Vader right in order for the dot to work. Darth Vader dot, and then we can just print out the weapon. So we could say enemy weapon to see if our enemy weapon is the same as our hero weapon. So we have the system.out.println hero weapon, and then we can go plus Obi-Wan Kenobi dot weapon. And we could have created a getter for this, but we're lazy and we don't really care about getters right now because we're learning about interfaces. And you can create getters inside of your get character. Actually, this is actually really interesting. You could actually do a public void get weapon, for something that you want to be different among like your like you want your enemy and your hero, and like you want the instances of those classes to have different weapons and different, like you don't just want it to be here an enemy, we just made it a lightsaber. Like you could do get weapon to get around the fact that you don't want your weapon, you want every character to have a weapon, but you don't want it to be the same weapon. Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay, we can actually, should we implement this? Okay. We're going to implement it. And so we will have to create, it's going to error because we don't have a get weapon, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we got to create this get weapon, and we will do public, and we'll return a string so we can get our weapon, and get weapon, and then we'll open close parentheses, and then we'll just return the weapon. And it'll be mad because we need a change inside of here. This should return a string, because we want, we actually want to get the weapon. We want to return it. And so we also have to put public string get weapon inside of here because we need to return the weapon. Yeah, there we go. And so now all is good. And so instead of doing this, we could actually do dot get weapon, and then we could do dot get weapon here. And we will actually change our hero's weapon to the force. Because they have the force. Okay, so we have this going, and let's just run this to see what happens. And so the enemy attacks you, and so your hero, Obi-Wan Kenobi, attacks the enemy heals himself appropriately, and then the hero heals you so that Obi-Wan Kenobi wants you to live. And so the enemy has a lightsaber, and then the hero has the force. And so notice it's the same method name, and they're connected by the same character, like interface, but they return different things. And that's the same for our heal and for our attack. And so now we're going to add one more thing. If we go to we have this thing going on here. We have our guys. We'll delete this little comment. And we are going to add a spy to the game. So we didn't make this method summon character for nothing. We are going to have a character spy equals summon character. What did I just do? I just instantiated a character, kind of. I didn't, whatever summon character returns, it's going to be an instance of a hero or an enemy. And we're not going to find that out until we do spy.attack and then spy.heal. We don't even, when we run this, attack could be an enemy attack or a hero attack. So let's play it. So it was a hero this time. So the hero attacked the enemy, and then the hero healed you, and you won. Now, if we play again, the enemy, our spy is an enemy. And so originally, we don't know if our spy is going to be an enemy or a hero. He's playing both, sides of the field right now. But when we press play, he picks a side and he decides to be an enemy or a hero. But we know no matter what, it's going to be a character because of the interface that's linking them. And because we know it's a character, it's going to have some implementation of attack, heal, and get weapon. Interesting, huh? Isn't that cool? Okay. Unlike I've shown here, usually you'll use interfaces to show a certain type of functionality. So you have the comparable interface, which basically says a certain, data structure will have a compare to method, meaning you can compare, an array to an array or a string to a string. Like if it has the compare to method, then it implements the comparable interface, and then you can say it does that thing. And if you're interested in that, go look it up. It's pretty important, but if you understand this, you're good to go. Other important things to note when you're using interfaces. You can have a single interface extend other interfaces, and so that's important if you want to have, say, a character, list of things you can do, and then maybe like Jedi do something else. So Jedi extend character, and then maybe you have specific Jedi that maybe you have a hierarchy of Jedi, and then gets more specific to what you actually want to do. But again, usually they're implementing unrelated things, but that's a way you could use interfaces if you want to. Also important to remember, the only way you can actually use your interface is to create a class that implements that interface. You're not going to be able to just construct an instance of your interface and use it as an instance, because if we go to character here, there's no constructor. So if there's no constructor, you can't make instances of it. So the only way you can use character is if you create an enemy or a hero class that implements it. Does not extend. You implement an interface, you extend a class. Important point there. Very important. And so what did we do today? Today we created an interface with our character. We created 2 classes that implemented this interface, and we messed around with it, and we created this actual function that could return just an instance of a interface, but really it was an instance of enemy or hero, but it appeared to be an instance of character, but it was not. It was either an enemy or a hero. Our newly created spy could then attack or heal, but what those things returned and like what they did depended on what happened inside of some main character. If our random int was, a certain number, it returned an enemy, otherwise a hero, and what actually happened inside of our function depended on that. We knew it was going to be a character, so we knew we could call certain methods and that no matter what our function returned, it was going to have implementations of that method, but we didn't even have to know what, like if it was a hero or an enemy. And so that's it for this video. The HackerRank challenge is down below in the description, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment on this video. I hope you learned something, and I will see you tomorrow.